is Savannah Moss. I'm with the Trumbull County Historical Society. Today is July 23rd, 2026, and it is 12:09. We are at Sweet Memories in Girard, Ohio. And for the record, can you tell me your full name?
Linda Barton.
And do I have your permission to record this interview?
You do.
Perfect. Linda, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and where you grew up?
I'm originally from New Jersey. I am an art major, went to school for fine arts. I grew up in an environment that was, the area was very historical in Flemington, New Jersey. There was a lot of really fun facts that were in that area. So I always grew up with loving old antiques and looking at something and wondering where it came from and what the history is. I grew up with the youngest of five. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad worked two jobs. And when we were growing up, we didn't take a lot of vacations. When we would go on family outings, we'd go in nature or to museums.
Very nice.
Mhm.
So, how did you end up in Girard?
My sister met someone in the military and she moved out here. And when we came to visit, we fell in love with the cost of living and the slow pace compared to New Jersey. So I moved out here when I was 20 years old, married, and had two kids.
Okay. So, all of that, what led you to open a, vintage tea and candy shop?
Well, I worked retail my whole life. Um, Growing up, working at 13 to the age of 20 when I moved out here, I did retail. And when I moved out here, I realized that with the cheaper cost of living came cheaper pay, and I was going on job interviews and didn't want to work for the hourly rates that this area was providing. So I got into a company that was doing outside sales at the time. And within 12 months, I went from sales rep to starting my own marketing company. So I got incorporated when I was 23 years old, and I did sports marketing and advertising for uh, different companies like the Pirates and the Indians and the Scrappers, where we would sell discount tickets. I ended up with COVID shutting that down, and everything was aligned to pivot into what I created here. So I lived out here for 25 years, and my husband told me that Good Humor Ice Cream was from Youngstown. And he's like, you should reach out to them and see who's doing their t-shirts because I own a screen printing company. And I reached out to Unilever and I asked who was designing your novelty t-shirt line for your 100-year celebration in Youngstown. And they said that they weren't celebrating anything in Youngstown. They never had a t-shirt line. And I was like, well, I'll do it. Women-owned business. So they were really excited to partner with me, being that Good Humor was founded here and they could start a t-shirt line. So they gave me a 1-year licensing agreement. And when I think of ice cream, I think of kids. And I thought about how Akron's Children's Hospital saved my daughter's life when she was young. So I decided to create a social enterprise where $5 of each t-shirt that we would design, print, and sell, I would donate back to Akron's Children's NICU babies. So my goal was to raise enough money to be like donating an infant bed, per se. So I went to the foundation at the hospital, told them I had this opportunity, and they said infant beds start at $40,000. So I calculated I needed to sell 8,000 shirts. So I contacted Good Humor Ice Cream and let them know that I partnered with the hospital and I created a social enterprise, and we were launching our t-shirt line February 9th of 2020 at Boardman Hospital in their lobby. And Good Humor loved what I was doing so much they sent me 500 ice cream bars to give to the staff and kids, which was great. And then I invited the Historical Society to set up a table as well because there's just so much that people didn't know about the community. A lot of people didn't know that Good Humor invented ice cream on the stick and the world's first ice cream truck came here. They didn't know there was a Good Humor Museum downtown. So it kind of all started there where I got the licensing agreement, and then I started to plan events to promote Good Humor, sell at different events, and then COVID happened. And then COVID ended up shutting the world down. So at that time, Good Humor reached back out to me and asked me if I had the time to design for Popsicle. Then Popsicle referred me to Spangler Candy Company because Dum Dums were founded in Akron. And then realistically, one phone call to Good Humor led to over 100 licensing agreements. So we were running out of space for our t-shirts. I ended up buying the building, and I was like, well, I'm just going to open up a showroom. And then I got carried away. So,
Yeah, I mean, that was a snowball effect for sure.
oh, absolutely.
That's really interesting. So yeah, you were not going out to start a candy shop or a
Mhm,
t-shirt, you know, it's
mhm,
really interesting. So when you opened the store and you said that was kind of a, turbulent time, this was the biggest challenge, just like the COVID-19 pandemic at that
mhm.
time.
Yeah. I opened the store in 23.
23. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So during that time, the building, I've been renting in the building for 25 years. But the building was never for sale, but the doors got open to buy it in 22. So then I was like, well, I'm gonna, open up a showroom. And then after the pandemic was lifted, all these brands came back to me and they were asking me what are my sales projections. And I'm like, well, I'm going to set up at the Canfield Fair. And then they laughed at me and they're like, what is that? They're like, you need to go national. So then I started calling candy stores all over the United States and realized that our community didn't have anything that is so unique as what we've created here. They don't have a candy store that has every candy that you can imagine and every toy that from your childhood. So I literally went down and found the top 10 most popular toys per decade uh, to source and find. And, I really wanted to make an experience for people that when they come in, it's not just coming in and getting a Snickers bar, it's coming in and, seeing parts of your childhood and history. And that's hence the sweet memories.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that's definitely the feeling I got when I walked in.
Hmm.
It's not just candy, it's a little bit of everything. Um, so all this seems like a very natural, organic, like start to this company,
Hmm.
essentially. What were those earliest days in this building in 2023 like? Your first couple days of business?
Well, our grand opening, we had lines out the door. Um, People were blown away by what we created here. It's just a different experience. There wasn't any other candy stores around, and so we really captured the hearts of the community, and being that all the shirts that we were selling were benefiting charities was a huge, huge thing. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And our mission was to, give back to the community. I figured Good Humor was here, founded here 100 years ago, and people still didn't know that we had to connect it with something that meant something to somebody, and we all started as babies at birth. So I thought that, the Children's Hospital, the NICU, was really the right choice. So, but it was definitely a challenge. Restocking. We were selling through stuff really quick. Some of the candies that we had, like fruit stripes gum, isn't available anymore. So, but it was really exciting, and to see the look on people's eyes for the first time when they walk in, they're like, "Wow!" And I remember when my parents came to my grand opening, my mom, I was 80 at the time. She was like, "Where did you get all this stuff?" And I'm like, "Oh, I found suppliers." And she's like, "Is it still good to eat?" And I'm like, "Mom, it's new." And she's like, "I didn't even know they made this stuff." And she's like, "I thought this was a museum." So it was just really kind of funny. They came out from New Jersey, but it was really exciting, and everybody, comes in and they always have a smile on their face. So this is the happy place.
I mean, how could it not? You've got sweets and
Yeah.
and memories. Like, yeah, it's
Hmm.
right there in the name. So you mentioned your mom and some of the products she saw while she was here. What are some of customers' favorite items, would you say? Like, what are best sellers or?
Well, I think that back then, the fact that we had grape knee high, soda.
Hmm.
People were asking, and people are asking for different things that they just didn't make anymore. But the blackjack, the Beeman, the slow poke, and the candy cigarettes that taste like chalk is everyone's favorite. Um, the bubblegum cigars. I mean, there's just too many. Everyone has a different, flavor of what they like. But I definitely think that the candy cigarettes is probably one of our number one selling things. And then everyone likes the mega lollies, and people get excited that we had Clark bars at the time, which were candy bars made in Boyers, Pennsylvania. They were brought back. Necco, the company that ha was in New England and Boston. We had the rights for manufacturing all these different candies, and they went bankrupt. So back in it was like 21 or 2020, they sold off different parts. So a lot of the candy, like the Necco wafers, weren't made for a while. So when we opened, people were excited that they could see, they were back on the market.
That's really interesting. I was going to ask, like, what was a product that you didn't expect to be like as popular as it was, but candy cigarettes kind of threw me off. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that. But is there something that you guys carry that you weren't expecting to be as popular as it is?
Um, you know, I I didn't have a level of expectation. I just felt like let the consumer decide. Um, Circus peanuts, for example, people love them or they hate them, so I think the more people that hate circus peanuts, the more people love them and we sell them. So it's just, every some of the newer trends, I don't know. It's all ages, 0 to 99. We have everything for everybody. What's really cool is to see generational people coming in, people that come in and they are grandfathers and little kids, and they're all sharing the love for the same candy, wacky wafers or, different things like that. My favorite candy growing up was Choward's scented gum. And Choward's candy, it tastes like violet soap. It's so weird, it's awesome, so that was always my favorite growing up. And Pez, so people get excited to see the whole Pez wall. But yeah, it's definitely there's just there's just a lot. I didn't think that there was we sell a ton of chocolate. And I mean, I'm not a chocolate person, so I was surprised at how much chocolate we sell.
Yeah, I'm a chocolate person, so I'm not
What's
surprised.
your favorite?
I loved Crunch bars growing up, so that's just a random one. But now I like Belgian chocolate. Like a lot of American chocolate companies are my favorite.
Uh,
Um, but
do
yeah,
you have Milka before? Milka?
no, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, that's one of our top sellers.
Okay, I might
German
have to get
chocolate.
one. Okay,
Hmm.
my heart. Well, I was going to ask also, thinking of the people that come in, all ages, sharing these memories. Has
Hmm.
there ever been one that kind of like stuck out to you or something really memorable that someone shared with you coming into the store?
There's too many stories. Our store is a place where people laugh and they cry. There's times where people come in and they'll start talking about how, hey, every time I see this sugar daddy, I think of my dad or something, and he always liked these. And people will literally start crying, and then we start hugging them, because it reminds them of people that, of like I always, would eat this with my dad, and he'd do this. And having some of the Idora Park, memories in here. We're always hearing tons of stories of people's experiences at Idora Park and Isley's, and my dad used to work for Isley's and this and that, and I remember this about my dad. And so it's sweet memories, and it's interesting how you can come in and you can see one piece of candy that just sets you off with all these emotions, and you remember, hey, I remember going to Isley's with my dad, and I remember we drove in this Packard car, and we went here and got a flat tire, and this, like, just seeing one little thing can trigger that day that happened in your life, and that's the magical part I think about our store. It's not not like we don't sell candy, like we sell an experience. We have people that come in, um, some older people that come in, and they come in by themselves, and they come in once a week because they don't have anybody to talk to. So we're like their family, and that's a fun part too.
Yeah, I can imagine that's really special. And then you have these regulars coming in
Mhm.
too. Food is so intrinsically uh, tied to memory, I feel like. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine
Hmm.
the stories that you get when people walk in. So
Hmm.
that's really, really wonderful. Um, Sort of in the same vein, what has owning this business meant to you personally?
Um, I I grew up um in an environment, like I said earlier, that we worked a lot. I'm second generation Hungarian. Both my grandparents came to this country. Being an entrepreneur and creating a space that benefits people, that's fun, that preserves history, is what I'm most excited about. My grandmother, I remember being 7 years old and just like this, having a tape recorder, and she would be talking. And she was like, if you don't record and remember who you are, all of our stories go to the graves. And, I always remember her telling me that. So when I see something that you know, and Golden Age beverages, for example. People were coming in the store and they see all of our soda and they were like, oh, I remember collecting those glass bottles and getting 5 cents. And we would go down to the Mahoning River and we would, go collect the bottles and this and that. And everyone kept saying Golden Age, Golden Age, Golden Age. And I looked it up and it was founded here, and when I brought it back, people were thrilled. So I think that the best part is that, everything that we do is a win-win, right? We're providing a positive, happy space. We're creating something that is bringing back some the old things in history that people forgot about. And we're just marrying it together to see the smiles on people's faces. I don't know if I answered that properly or not. I'm sure you're going to filter all this anyway, but
No,
um, that's kind of what the best part is, being an entrepreneur and being able to create something that when people leave here, they feel good. They leave here and then they feel that they learned something, or they leave here and they think about parts of their childhood that were happy moments. So,
how can you not be happy eating candy?
yeah, yeah.
No, that was a perfect answer. Um, and with all this, it sounded again like very much natural growth and kind of
Mhm.
unexpected. So would you say you have like a moment or a milestone you're like, oh, I made it, or like a proudest accomplishment? I think you touched on it a little bit, but
Um, I never feel like I made it.
mhm.
I feel like if someone would have told me 10 years ago I'd be running a candy store and I'd have 100 licensing agreements and I'd have a hospital room named after us at Akron's Children's, I would be like, yeah, what planet are you from? I've never felt ever that it's a finish line. You know what I mean? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon of what are we growing? What are we doing next? I never feel like I've arrived. And I think that I'm the type of person that I give 110% or I give nothing. And um, that's why I've associated all of our shirts to some sort of mission so that when I'm waking up in the morning, I'm not waking up because I want to sell a t-shirt. I'm waking up because I want to benefit someone. And I believe that um, the more you give, the more you receive. And, I don't and my accountants, when I told them I was opening a candy store, they're like, why did you spend all this money and all this? And I'm just like, well, they're like, it's just a candy store. I'm like, well, you got to see it. And when they came, they're like, oh, that's really cool. So I don't think I've arrived yet. I have some big plans, but um,
Well, that
I'm
leads me to my next question, actually. What are your plans for the future? What do you hope to, it's down the road?
So I'm working on more licensing agreements, being that we brought back the Golden Age market. or the Golden Age Soda, we opened up the Market, which is our small business retail incubator. When I first started selling my t-shirts, I was setting up at the Youngstown Flea, working every event. I met some really amazing people. And before we had our retail store, I was going out, hustling and doing the grind all the time. And I had a lot of people that were coming in once we opened and are like, "Oh, can I sell my cookies here? Can I sell this here?" And I can't. I want to, and I want to help everybody, but I can't. So that's why we decided to open up this marketplace here, which is we have 38 independent small businesses. So my goal is to help them grow, and our building is 25,000 square foot and continually growing till we grow out of the building. And then we've had a couple people that have came to me and asked me if I will franchise. And I'm not opposed to it, but I don't know anything about it. So, um, but I definitely want to open up more locations in other areas because I see the benefit of it, and I know that whatever we created is hugely marketable. Because there's no place like our store.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
As we're walking around for a few
hmm
minutes. Um, I guess my next question would be, how would you like Sweet Memories to be remembered if it's, in 25, 50 years from now?
I would want it just to be the sweet, sweet memories, like it's a place where it's it's timeless. It's a place that, you're greeted when you come in, people feel good. It's just retail therapy. And a place, it's something to do, being from New Jersey. I would work a lot before I opened the store. And when it was time when I got off work and I wanted to take my kids out to do something, I have three kids. They're adults now, but there wasn't anything open. Everything was closed at 5 and on weekends. And I'm just like, it's crazy. So, our store is open every day from 10 to 7 for consistency. So people know that we're here every day, except for major holidays. So I just want to be remembered as a place that made people happy, that, it's a community place. It's the community that keeps us going. It's the community that's helping, fund the things that we're giving to these charities and the Meals on Wheels and, Akron Children's Hospital and different things like that. So,
That's really wonderful. Is there anything that you would like to share that I've not asked, or any specific stories you'd like to?
um, no, I'm kind of brain dead right now. I'm gonna just be honest with you because there was this lady that was here earlier. She's my sales rep, and
Mhm.
we were just brainstorming. So it's just, but Delaney would give you some really good insight too. I hired a graphic designer in 2020 as an intern. Her name was Abby. She's been with us for 6 years. She now works remote from home. She's got a 1 year old and a baby on the way. And it's really great to see the transition of a YSU student growing with us and being in such a major role after 6 years, and then Delaney started with us last year as a YSU intern as well. So all of our t-shirts have been designed by YSU graduates. So to know that we didn't use Fiverr for these designs and the opportunities. Um, I think that in this area, a lot of students graduate and they move out of the area. And I can understand that being from a different area, seeing more opportunities. So we like to keep our talent in the community. And I think that we've got the best talent in our store. So like a lot of great personalities of people. So um but yeah, I think Delaney could probably she elaborate more on her perspective of seeing where we were when she came in to where we are now as well, because a lot of things change in a year. Being that I'm from, like, I grew up East Coast and I probably have ADHD and I don't medicate myself. So my brain is going a mile a minute constantly, and I probably sleep 4 hours a day because I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I have this idea, I have this idea, I have this idea. And um, we're just keeping evolving because of all those ideas.
Mhm.
So I would like to take our store and make it bigger and make it the Welcome to Ohio store
Mhm.
because there's a lot
Oh,
of,
sorry.
no, you're good. Because there's a lot of things that are in the area that people just don't know about. And I think if I could scale this to have better parking, it could be bigger.